regulate AI? How do we govern? How does AI change the way we run our country? How does it change the way we plan or operationalize our education systems, etc.? There is a difficult balancing act going on where countries are very eager to try to support artificial intelligence. They try to support research on AI. They try to support companies that want to implement AI because no one wants to be left behind. At the same time, there are worries that AI can be bad as well. It can lead to non-optimal outcomes. It can lead to bad outcomes even. We have already seen how Facebook is not really doing well. It can lead to, by the way that their non-optimal outcomes are driving us against each other rather than even bringing us together. So this balancing act between regulation and supporting AI is a difficult nut to crack for everyone. Every government is working on this, and lots of researchers are trying to influence and be part of this process. And I would argue more researchers are needed. And this is where the social sciences perspective comes from. It comes exactly from this need that we need to tie what currently has been more or less a technological question. We need to make it a social question. We need to make it a question about how we want to run our societies. And this is maybe the main message of this presentation. So very quick examples. OECD has been very active and has been working on AI very early. In OECD, they approved principles of AI, listing some of the values, some of the operating principles that AI systems should have, and some of the approaches that governments could take to govern AI systems or facilitate AI system adoption. These principles were then basically copy-pasted by G20, the group of 20 biggest economies in the world. So one could say that this was a very, very influential document. It lists things that are now the backbone of every international organization's AI policy document. So we need responsible, trustworthy, transparent, safe, and accountable AI. So these are the principles. The practice is more difficult. The devil is always in the details. What the OECD principles say that AI should benefit people and the planet. So they take the environmental aspect as well, which is very important. We know that artificial intelligence is linked with big data. It's linked with lots of data, lots of processing power is needed. So it's not an unproblematic in today's debate or in today's environment where we talk about global environmental change, loss of biodiversity, and of course climate change. Then UNESCO. Currently, I'm taking a break to come to this meeting. I'm taking a break from the UNESCO General Conference, which will next Tuesday approve and adopt the recommendation of the ethics of AI. And this is a very important document. It is the first truly global standard-setting instrument on AI. It's a very human rights-based instrument. It is an excellent document, and I'm really, really hoping that we can adopt this document next week. What it lists the values, principles, and then a lot of recommendations for member states on 11 policy areas. So not just in what are the key areas of UNESCO, education, science, culture, communication, but it also deals with work life. It deals with health, and it takes a very strong pro-environmentalist approach to AI. It tries to balance the kind of threats and potential negative outcomes of AI with the positives that we can see from AI. It basically states that we need artificial intelligence to help us achieve the sustainable development goals. It is a very important aspect of it. AI is with us, and this is basically the ethical questions that we face. They in this document they start from the environment. They start from human responsibility. They start from providing opportunities for everyone. The global justice approach is very strong in this document, so that is one reason why it's very important. So some of the social sciences questions, or questions that pose issues that cannot be solved by what we are doing at the moment in let's say, artificial intelligence research. The more technological aspects, these are questions that cannot be answered by looking at those, looking at them from just one discipline or a narrow set of disciplines. So first of all, this is close to my heart, artificial intelligence and education. Both, how should we prepare our children? How should we prepare our adults? How should we reskill our adults when they are in a situation where they are working together with AI on workplace? On the other hand, how can we harness the power of AI to improve our education system? So both of these questions, both of these directions are open questions. They are open questions, and there's no technological answer to this. There's no answer that is solely either on computer science or can be solved by just education experts. This is something where the society has to answer. This is a societal issue. What is the nature of our communities and our societies when AI is there actively operating? And again, I try to shy away from, or kind of steer away from rhetorics where I would personify artificial intelligence. It is a tool that we use. We already use them. We are going to use them a little bit more in the future. But they are going to change the way we work. They're going to change the way we relate to each other. And this is important. Finally, AI and governance and politics. Governance, politics, it's about power. And we've already seen how social media changes the dynamics of power. And so here, all the politologists in the world could be employed to just look at these issues. These are, as far as I can tell, these are under-researched questions at the moment. So global fairness, finally, but most importantly, maybe, in the UNESCO process, it has been very, very clear that most countries are there looking for or making the ethical point that we are developing technology that should be used for the good of everyone, not just for the few. And this is an important and again a difficult question to answer. Some tentative answers or some aspects that might help us find answers. First of all, we need different researchers to work together. This is not something that we can only answer from one perspective. This needs new kinds of multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, transdisciplinary projects. Second of all, we all need to learn more about AI. I think that I can combine the second and third point here in the interest of time. We need to be able to teach the AI about humans. We need to build AI that is sensitive to human sensitivities, at least to some degree. We need to, and they need to be operating, when they are operating in social context, they need to have a kind of an awareness, understanding, or at least operating principles that make them fit the way that humans work together when they work as humans. So let's take some kind of a computer vision system. We can develop it, make it better and better and better, just using computer science. But when we implement that computer vision system, when we implement it into a self-driving car, when we implement it into a monitoring device that is supposed, let's say an automatic camera that is tracking movement of people in streets, here the question is completely different. It's no longer whether it's technically an apt, whether it technically works. The question is whether it's socially desirable, whether it's something we want to have there in the first place, and whether it works according to those laws, those regulations, those social contracts that we have in general. This is a question that no technologist can answer. This is something we need to be able to answer together. And therefore, everyone needs to learn. This is not something where we can leave it to others, where we can leave it to specialists. This is something where we all need to become a little bit of, at least a little bit acquainted if we want to be able to take part in this conversation. Finland has launched a MOOC, an online free open online course called Elements of AI. You can Google that and you can access that in multiple languages. And it's a course that introduces you to the basic basics of AI, and there's also added components of that. One on ethics of AI, and another one, if you are more technically oriented, there's another module that takes you to how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and then that takes you. If you have any questions, to how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and then that takes you. If you have any questions, how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and then that takes you. If you have any questions, how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and that takes you. If you have any questions, how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and that takes you. If you have any questions, how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor modules, and that takes you. If you have any questions, how to develop. So added components of that. So this is one on ethics of AI, and I wanted to say I are more technically oriented. There's a minor